It is the final word, Border Gavaskar Daily. Adam Collins, Geoff Lemon, Brisbane, day 3. I think it was 13 overs on day 1, 33 overs today. Won't take you long to sum it up. Our coverage is for CBUS Super, celebrating their 40th birthday in 2024. cbussuper.com.au. Get your super sorted out. Geoff, go at it. 30 seconds.
It might take a little while because a bit happened. Alex Carey got up to 70. Australia resumed. Mitchell Starc whacked a 4 and a 6. They got up to 445. Australia in the end. Nathan Lyon made 2. Carey got out last man for 70. And then India were in all sorts. 51 for 4 by the close. Jaiswal goes early. Mitchell Marsh takes a couple of catches off at Mitchell Starc. Gill out cheaply. Kohli nicks off on the 11th stump line. And Rishabh Pant got out to Cummins shortly before the close. So they're stuffed, India. They're in a lot of trouble, but there's a lot of rain about, so they might get out of it.
I ambitiously had my sunglasses on at the front. That's because bad light eventually stopped play. I think that was our either 8th or 9th, I lost count, delay of the day. It's raining again now as we start recording. Predictably, it's raining again, but we will persevere.
This is dedication.
We will go the whole way through.
We're not going to race off.
Because we have our camera under shade, undercover. Therefore, we'll continue.
We are like the ground staff. When it rains, the ground staff go out there. They don't go in. That's when they go out. When it rains, we go out. We go out on the field because we have to tell you about that 13 rain delays, about the incredibly frustrating, incredibly annoying day of cricket that we had. Build a stadium with a roof. They're doing it in Tasmania, aren't they? The new Tasmanian team, go Devils, they're going to have a stadium with a roof. They'll have a transparent roof so they can let grass grow inside. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. I might have made that up. That might be something for the Saudi Arabian Olympics, but I think it's happening in Tassie. Tassie, Riyadh, Launceston, they go together. Ricky Ponting will probably get involved at some point when they want to hire ambassadors. But anyway, roofs. We need stadiums with roofs. Make it happen. When they do the Olympic redevelopment for whatever it is, the Gabba or Victoria Park or the state, like the Cusack Centre down the road, put a roof on it. We want roofs in Australia. The roof seal, get him involved. When your roof is getting lost between the Larkin and the Moss and your mortar isn't where it ought to be, give it back that old appeal with a visit from Roof Seal. 1-800-21-23-23, was it?
That is very, very good from you. I can't even remember what era that ad was from, but all I would say is shade cloth in space with drones.
Yep.
I've been saying it for a long time. There was a member of Parliament, Dennis Jensen, dangerous Dennis Jensen, who member for Tangi, I remember his electorate, who once said, all we need to do to sort out climate change was put a shade cloth in space. Shade cloth in space. What about a shade cloth above the fucking cricket ground, held up by drones?
A rain cloth even.
Whatever. A big umbrella. A giant umbrella with drones.
Slanted so the water runs off so it doesn't get too heavy.
The game that happened today, let's rattle through that quickly. We're not going to be here for long because I don't want my notes to get wet. They're trailed by 397, by the way. They had 2 tiny sessions, one after lunch and one after tea. Rishabh Pant fell in that brief interlude between the rain that happened in the middle of session, which I lost track of entirely because there were so many delays. I didn't even know what bloody session we were in. All the action happened before lunch. The 40 runs that Australia made were neither here nor there, with the exception of a big 6 from Starc and an even bigger one from Carey, who got to 70. Starc was out for 18. Cummins made 20 odd. But they didn't really.
Yesterday,
was it yesterday?
Cummins batted yesterday.
Oh, of course he did.
Cummins was out
Starc walked out today.
Starc walked out today.
Bloody hell.
I know.
Says a lot about how weird today's been that my brain clocked Cummins coming and going
batting
today.
He bowled
It was Starc. Starc did walk out at the start of the day. Carey advanced to another half century. He's batting really nicely at the moment. Just to cover that off, they didn't quite go as quickly as I thought. I anticipated a declaration overnight to save 2 overs. In the end, a moot point because it's rained all day and they've lost so much time anyway. They get the bowling boots on. Gee, that looked good. Bloody hell, that track. So, I mean, I know it's like a timeless comment about the Gabba pitch getting quicker and always suiting Australian attacks. And it did. Again, today, Starc's second ball, it's a false shot from Jaiswal, but not on top of the bounce, taken by Mitch Marsh. He couldn't believe it. The Aussie team were pissing themselves laughing. The first ball of his second over, false stroke from Gill. I had Ravi Shastri on commentary at the time talking about him saying that they had their driving licences taken away from them, the top order at different points when he was coaching them. Boy, they should have taken the driving licence away from Shubham Gill and to an extent Kohli later as well, which we'll come to. But the catch from Mitchell Marsh, the flying bison again, to quote Ravi, to his left, a screamer. Not the first time he's done that. There's a clip from 2016 when he took a similar catch off Marsh, Starc rather, in the gully over in Perth on day 1 of that wild series. But he's moves well for a big man, you might say, Geoff.
Nimble for a big man. He's not I think if you did the power ranking of the Australian side of who is the most likely and the least likely to get off the ground, Mitchell Marsh is comfortably the least likely to get off the ground.
He doesn't run. I want to know how quickly he runs his 100 metres in.
At one point today, McSweeney, 23 seconds.
McSweeney it was like watching a stall gift with Kathy Freeman in the 400 metres in 1996. I mean, McSweeney and Marsh had 60 odd metres to run, and he had a 10 metre head start. And he basically overtook him as the back marker.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the initial catch was easy as pie. He's just standing there at mid-wicket, flicked off the pad straight to him. It reminded me of, if we can go back to Gaul 2016 for the second time this series.
Geez, you fucking love Gaul 2016.
I do love Gaul 2016. Frankie Roon, Stemmeth Corona out in a first ball of the innings, one of Starc's first ball of the match wickets, flicked him straight to mid-wicket. Beautiful shot off the pads, boom, catch, right into the hands there.
19th time he's taken a wicket in the first over of a test match, Starc.
There we go.
Only second to James Anderson, who did it like 29 times.
Because he played 4,000 test matches.
So Starc goes in outright second on that list today.
So I think at Gaul it might have been Joe Burns, captain of Italy, Joe Burns, who took the snare. This time it was Marsh. It was a pretty gentle catch. Probably the length wasn't there to flick. It was a bit too high. It was a bit too fast. Couldn't keep it down, but it was just an instinctive shot from Jaiswal. See the ball in your pads, you try to flick it through mid-wicket. Didn't work for him. And then Gill, the big drive. I mean, I didn't necessarily mind that because it was a really attacking shot from Gill, and that's how he makes runs.
It was a dog of a shot.
I mean...
Oh, my God, what are you doing? You're such a capable player.
The inclination...
The only way... It's so low percentage. But it is so low percentage playing on the up with the moving ball early on, having lost an early wicket. It's a leave 100 times out of 100. The job he's doing is to let that ball go. It's a dog of a shot. I appreciate that in white ball cricket, on shirt front tracks, with no deviation, with white kookaburras, whatever you want to say, there is a time and a place for driving on the up against the new ball with the field up, but not where they are in this test match.
No.
And we'll come to Kohli again. We'll deal with that in isolation momentarily. But Gill is a guy who's had his best test year in 2024, and it feels like he's done a lot of that good work in the last week or so.
Yeah, I suppose what I'm saying is I could understand why you go, I'm an attacking player, I counter, I take them on, and then you play a dumb shot. You know, there is a kind of a reason for that. Kohli is something else because I think, and I was doing the live updates at the time, and when Kohli came out to the middle, we were in the middle of a Starc over, and I said, Starc, whatever, but Hazelwood to Kohli, that's the real quiz. That's where he's most vulnerable. That's what's going to get him out.
That's the Kedlabra pub.
And that's what happened. And it is that good length, it's that good bounce, it's a bit of nip, and Hazelwood was bowling some ones that were jagging horribly at the time, but he didn't need to do anything much to Kohli. All he needed to do was bowl the ball. Now, I wish to take issue with something in terms of measurements. I heard a lot of commentators today say a lot of things about lines and stumps. I heard 5th stump line, 6th stump line, 7th stump line. That ball was like the 12th fucking stump line. That ball was so wide, like it was seriously at least 8, maybe 9. I want someone to do the Photoshop, superimpose the stumps on the Kohli wicket at the point where the ball's coming down and tell me what line that's on, because it was so far outside off. He's already walked across to almost outside his own off stump. Then he's had to reach all the way as far as his arms can go, and then he's got an angled bat still trying to get to the ball, and he still manages to nick it through. Why are you playing at that ball? What is going on in his brain? And it's not like it's recent. He's been doing it for like 3 or 4 years, getting out again and again and again to balls out there. Why are you trying to play that delivery? What's the point?
Looks like he's chasing after a ball that he hasn't quite gotten to. That's the first thing to say. And it's like fighting against the dying of the light stuff, because Kohli's most lethal weapon for 15 years has been his immaculate cover drive. So it's that time in a player's career when their strength can start to become a weakness. And there's no one who wants Virat Kohli to make runs in this series more than me. Well,
probably him.
There'll be others.
Probably him.
But
I reckon about 50 million people.
A billion others. But like, sincerely, I wanted Kohli to monster this series. I wanted him to be the guy who defined it. I wanted it for him.
Because it's interesting.
Because it's
a good story.
He's such a compelling cricketer. He's had such an extraordinary career. I don't want it to be over.
You want to see the best be the best. You want to see Bumrah bowl as well as he's bowling. You want to see Kohli bat as well as he can bat. You want to see Rohit Sharma come out and tear up an attack at some point. You want to see Steve Smith make the 100 he did yesterday. You want to see Pat Cummins bowl well. We want to see all of this. We like watching the game. We like watching people who are good at it do the thing. So
especially
stop nicking off.
Especially someone who's been as good as Kohli for as long as Kohli's been, acknowledging the rut, acknowledging the challenges he's experienced since, broadly speaking, the pandemic. we're at a stage now, though, where we've talked a lot about regeneration in the Aussie team recently. And, we sort of touched on Smith last night in relation to that. There's a Kawaja story that's playing out at the moment to an extent. He turns 38 in a couple of days. In the fullness of time, it'll be the Aussie fast bowlers and Nathan Lyon, that quartet that have been around for so long and been so successful. At some stage, we'll get to that part of the conversation with them. It may well be that we're at that part of the conversation with Kohli now. And that's frustrating. It's only 3 weeks ago, it would have been that you and I were in Perth reflecting on him turning back the clock and playing the hits and all the rest of it. But since then, unfortunately, he's fallen back into that slipstream, and they know how to bowl to him. It's a dedicated plan. They are intentionally starving him. They're bowling outside the line of the off stump to that 6, 7, 8 stump line, knowing that after a while he can't give in, or rather he can't deny himself any longer. And the other parts of this is he was roughed up by a short ball, and Hazelwood had the ball pong going. That ball that cannoned into KL Rahul's wrist first ball, that took guts from Rahul to stand up and take that. And Kohli had a couple rear up and hit the shoulder of the bat, which are not easy. And Hazelwood, it's not his pace, by the way. There was one stage of Hazelwood's career where he was a sort of a low to mid 140s guy, that test match at Adelaide in 2017 when he was never quicker, right up towards 150 kilometres an hour. Hazelwood's now early 130s, mid 130s guy, but the bounce he generates has never been steeper, and the consistency has never been better. So combining those two things together on a pitch like this, Kohli was already... it was a little bit like what happened to him at Perth when he was trying to find a way to get to the ball closer to it. He's out of sorts at the wrong time in a series. It's going to be extremely difficult for him to fight his way back. I think a lot rests on how he responds. He needs to get back in the series for a second time in the second dig here, be it day 4 or day 5.
The ball with Hazelwood, the ball still comes from outer space.
Yes.
It's coming from so high up. It's like a high orbit.
From the Hubble base station. It's up there.
Right. And that angle, I mean, the pitch looked so much more dangerous, and it's such a cliche when Australia plays at home that while they're batting, it doesn't look too bad, and then they start bowling and it looks almost impossible to play on. And it did. Hazelwood's getting it to jag horribly. The one that hit KL Rahul, and we should mention him among 4 other players who made single-figure scores and got out. He didn't. He's still there.
33 not out and hit the shot
beautifully.
And hit the shot of the match. Probably that cover drive with his, the Kim Hughes cover drive, back knee kissing the turf was a stunner. And I think
a couple others as well.
Yeah, the admiration that everyone I think had when he kind of found a way to compose himself and carry on after being hit on the wrist first ball.
I could not believe that. So it rears in, it hits his top hand. I'm going to try to do this so it works
about where your
on
watch
audio.
Is.
Around where the wristwatch is, where the wristband of the glove is. So there's no arm guard there, there's no padding of the glove there, and it's the top hand on the bat, and it comes in and crashes into the wrist. And they showed a slow motion replay of that. And you remember the ultra slow mo cams they used to have when the ball hit the bat and it would wobble?
Yeah.
You'd see the timber do that wobbly thing. His bone did that. The bone in his arm did the wobbly bit, and I nearly threw up a little bit of toast into my own mouth seeing it on the screen. And I was like, it's got to be broken. There's no way your arm can do that and not be broken. And even if it's not broken, it's got to be so swollen within like 2 minutes that it's going to be impossible to use. And the way he dropped his bat immediately, walked off to square leg, got attention, walked off to point, whatever it was, and he looked stunned. I was like, his arm's broken, he's out of the test match. And then he was like, no, I'm good, I'll keep going. And was still holding his bat in the top hand. It wasn't like he was yanking the hand off the handle. I don't know how he's carrying on, but bloody hell, it's brave.
Yeah, and look, he's got, as is well documented, 7 of his 8 test hundreds away from home, most of them in SENA countries. There's a reason why they like him. There's, a question to be asked around why Rohit Sharma isn't opening, where a utility in KL Rahul isn't being used in that middle order role because Rohit has been at his best at the top of the list. But, Rohit's still there, and we'll save further reflections on him, I suppose, till tomorrow. But... look, Rahul at the top of the list has enjoyed success away from home, and I suppose that was the prevailing factor or the prevailing point in that decision. Again, just to come back to it, where KL Rahul, as long as he remains in the middle right now, they have some chance of keeping things afloat. And that's what comes next as we sort of near the end of segment 1 here. 2 days to go. There probably will be further rain. Australia have shown their hand already. By batting on today, they're not thinking about batting a second time. They're looking at follow-ons. This is something they don't typically do, but they only bowled 80-odd overs last week at Adelaide. They've already taken
get lots of breaks.
Yeah, after
with the rain delays.
Well, Rishabh nicked off in the 14th over today. Sure. That was the 4th wicket to fall, and they've only sent down 17, and it'll be across a couple of days. Right. So
but if you're India, if you want to deny Australia that opportunity, you got to get to 245, and that should be. I mean, that's doable. It's difficult from here because they're
bloody
down.
Yeah,
but it still could be possible with what they've got, where they've got Nitish Kumar ready, they've got Jadeja, so they've got some extra batting to try to scrap away through those rain delays, or at least sort of take it deep enough in terms of time that if there are further delays, they don't give Australia a chance to get through them a second time if they do enforce the follow-on.
The most interesting scenario, and I'll just throw it out there now, is that if India make 246 and Australia have got a 199 lead, and Australia are like, bloody hell, draws are helpful, but you know, your World Test Championship percentage reduces with the draw. So would India's, of course, because that's who they're up against for that second spot, provided South Africa win one of the two tests
it's
against
better than losing one, but it's 4 points versus 12.
Yeah, so there might be a point where Australia go, we've got to live a little here.
It's 1/3 as good as a win.
Well, we've got to live a little and set India a target on the final day and dangle the carrot to a certain extent, the way you might in a 4-day game or at the end of a series like we saw at Lahore with Australia and Pakistan back in early 2022. So we're nowhere near there yet. I think Australia are more likely to roll them and enforce the follow-on on the evidence of what we've seen so far with Starc and Hazelwood. And Cummins, we've not even mentioned that he was the man that got out Rishabh Pant, and Nathan Lyon bowled for 5 minutes just then and had it turning square, as opposed to Ravindra Jadeja, who bowled a lot of darts, and when he did throw it up, it did turn. So there's enough there for Lyon to work with on a ground that he's enjoyed plenty of success himself over the years with more than 50 test wickets at the Gabba.
I will come back to him in the Hall of Fame, which we could get to in a moment.
In just a moment. Well, we should talk about Maurice Blackburn Lawyers first, shouldn't we?
MBs. Emmys. Maury Bs. Maury Bs, that's how we affectionately refer to them now that we're friends with Australia's #1 plaintiff law firm. As we said yesterday, number 2, great, you're doing a good job. Number 3, hang in there. But number 1, you know you're at the top of the pops if you're Maurice Blackburn. Yeah,
look, workplace incidents or where you feel like you're not able to access the representation you think you need in the legal system. This is Maurice Blackburn's bread and butter. 30 offices around Australia, and most of their work's on a no-win, no-fee basis. They've been involved in like giant class actions working on behalf of working people. So the key information here is that if you think you need that legal support, they are there for you. Communicate with them. Their information's in the show notes. They've got some of the best and brightest lawyers in the country working for them.
And if you need it now, fine. If you need it in 5 years' time, fine. Because they'll still be there. They've been around since 1919.
1919. It's a hell of a long time. On that note, let's go to a break. On the other side of it, we'll get to the Final Word Hall of Fame.
It is the final word. It's the daily. It's Australia. It's India, the two nations that will also go head-to-head in the Kabaddi Challenge, 28th of December. It's getting closer. Every day we do this spot, it's one day closer to you being able to go to John Cain Arena, which is the one across the road, the tennis joint across the road from the old MCG.
It's where the basketball is mostly these days.
They're going to kick the NBL off there. They're going to pop across the road from the cricket, and you can watch India's Kabaddi All-Stars play a bunch of Australian rules footballers who are being taught how to play a game that's all about running and tackling and dodging and evading and all the things, all the skills, the transferable skills. If only they could get some of the international rules Irish players involved in the Kabaddi League, and we could play it at Croke Park.
Oh, wow.
Now we'd be talking.
They should have a tri-series.
Now we'd be talking.
Ireland, Australia, India in Kabaddi at Croke Park in front of 82,000.
Right, in Kabaddi, but it's 6 points if you get it under the crossbar and 3 if you get it over the crossbar.
Now we're talking. International rules Kabaddi. Now that we're talking about it, now that we're discussing it, we can manifest it. What I do know on the 28th of December, I'll be there. You'll be there. Many, many Final Word listeners will be there. That's the sense I get from our Discord channel and for following this online as well. Yep. So it's going to be a top night. As you say, some outstanding Aussie rules footballers who think I'm not going to mention the guy I mention every other time. Many of them though, and they've been training twice a week. Campbell Brown's coaching them. He's been in the Aussie Kabaddi team before, so there is some experience to go on with there. The closer we're getting to it, the more I'm fascinated by it. So it's a big event coming to Victoria. It's happening at the same time as the test match at the MCG. They've sold out day 1 of the MCG test match. So
what?
Yeah, did you hear that? Boxing Day 1 is sold out. So day 3 will be, and that's a guide to say how big this test is going to be. There will be 70,000 people at the G. 90 plus. So there'll be 70,000 people, rugged individualists at the MCG on day 3.
Sovereign citizens.
And many of those sovereign citizens will cross the bridge. If you think you're a
sovereign citizen, talk to Maurice Blackburn, because you might need setting straight on that.
They will walk across the bridge where the flame is from the 1956 Olympics. It's still not lit. I mean,
it's currently not.
Ron Clark's not there with it anymore.
Sure.
Nor John Landy or anyone else. But you can walk past where it's commemorated there. Over to John Cain and be there to watch the Kabaddi All-Stars from India. It's going to be a terrific event. Glad it's in our great state of Victoria. Geoff, give us your Hall of Fame.
Get in touch with us because, we're
going to go.
Come along with us.
We're going to go. We're going to go. We're going to film. We're going to shoot the podcast there. It's going to be a thing.
We're going to have
be with us.
A big Kabaddi night. Hall of Fame, the most final word moment of the day, the thing I enjoyed the most today, probably this. Probably Nathan Lyon. At the point where Nathan Lyon came on to bowl today, as you said, found a bit of turn, all the rest of it. As was noted, as was put on the historical record, Nathan Lyon in the Adelaide Test, not really required, bowled 1 over in the Test match. 1 over in the Test match. We go back to Perth. Australia were batting on the last day at Perth as they were losing that Test. So the previous time he bowled was the second last day of the Test at Perth, which was the 24th, I'm going to say, of November. It started on the 22nd, didn't it? It's now the 16th of December. So that is a span of 22 days. In 22 days, Nathan Lyon bowled 1 over in Test cricket.
Love it.
In a series that he is playing and was selected for all of the relevant matches.
And a series where we feel like it's condensed and back to back as well. So he's fresh.
I was thinking of all that stuff where people go, oh, this player hasn't played any Shield cricket in the lead up. They're not red ball fit. They're not match fit. They haven't been bowling. He's been in the series. He's been picked for every Test and he hasn't bowled in 3 weeks. He's bowled 1 over in 3 weeks. How's he supposed to remember how to land it tomorrow? Yeah.
Well, he looked okay around the wicket tonight before they went off for bad luck. I guess that's the first of my Hall of Fame noms, is that I want to know how many times we actually went off today. I think it's 8. It might be 9.
Yep.
Is it a record?
If you include the delayed start, that was 1.
And the one at the end, if you're counting, when they went off prematurely for bad light.
Yeah.
Is that a record
and a delayed lunch?
1 day. I've asked Andrew Sampson, because obviously there's been days where we've been washed out entirely and, there have been fewer overs, but all that, no drama. But the coming and going and coming and going. Difficult to work out unless you go through the scorecards. One of our final nerds can probably achieve this. They have the skills to pay the bills on this front. Or Samo will reply to my tweet. Yeah. One thing or the other.
Yeah, Azhar Ali in 2016 at the MCG didn't come and go so many times. It might have been 6. Remember when he made the double 100 across like 3 days of batting, whatever it was?
It was 5 days, wasn't it? Didn't he finish on... I might have been day 4. Day 4,
Starc's batting early day 5. I think he finishes on day 4.
No, you're right. It was day 4, and then they got bowled out a second time late day 5.
Second time late day 5 when Starc was reversing it in 2016 when the ball used to do a bit more. Now, Azhar Ali, loved his work, calm, composed, but I still don't think he went off and came back 8 times. It might have been 6 times.
Yeah, I think that this could be a record, and we always like finding new things in cricket. Oh, one more thing from me. The Jaiswal dismissal was telegraphed to a certain extent just before they went out to face. So he was facing up, doing some throwdowns, and the Aussie team were effectively at mid-wicket on the other side of the rope, on their side of the rope, the change room side of the rope. And Jaiswal was just away from them, like any club game, taking throwdowns, and he clipped the hell out of it right out the middle of the bat, and it thumped into Thomas Stockley's leg. Our colleague from cricket.com.au is a brilliant videographer. You should follow him on Instagram. Some of the stuff he does with the Aussie team is just remarkable. He's also playing for the Media 11 for me on the 22nd of December at the Junction Oval. Come and watch. The way the Aussie team responded was quite funny, like Steve Smith especially gesticulating, what are you hitting it over here for? Hit your throw down straight. And then Jaiswal came up and sheepishly apologised to Tamo, which was nice as well. So, bit of colour and movement there before India started their second innings. Speaking of colour and movement, these are the Larry glasses. These are the Flary Larry ones that Maxie wears. I'll put them in front of the camera. These are called the Flare.
I'm going to describe these for audio people. They're gold. They're huge. They sort of look like, I don't know, if the pharaohs had invented sunglasses, they might look something like this.
They look like now I look at myself in the camera lens. They look like Doc Brown. Roads where we're going, you don't need.
Roads where we're going, we don't need roads.
Yeah, the glasses that Doc Brown's wearing with the we don't need
jaunty roads.
So all something of that. So watch it on the last scene of Back to the Future 1 or first scene of Back to the Future 2.
If Doc Brown were trying to sell you something at a service station in Balan, they look a bit like that.
These are so much better than that though. These are brilliant. Maxie's helped design them. There are different types for cricketers. These are the ones I'm wearing, so you can see the ball and do your thing concurrently.
Optimum coverage. They give you a lot more real estate.
Yes, and the ones that I was wearing the last couple of days, 2 days ago, I think, are the more casual ones. Right. And they're really cool as well. Signed off by my wife. I said that on the pod yesterday, and Izzy Westbury called me out on it. She goes, your wife does not approve of you wearing those glasses. She thought I was talking about the big Larry ones, but I'm talking about the not so Larry ones. Anyway, these glasses are in the show notes. Click the link, do your thing, buy them, get the discount, which is I always forget. It's 10%, right?
10%.
10% discount on t20vision.com/final word. That's us done, Geoff. I'm going to go and see my little girls who've been caught in the rain.
Come to the Melbourne live show on December 22nd. Please do that. Ricky Ponting and Glenn Maxwell, they'll be there.
And the Sydney live show on the 7th of January as well,
yes.
Which Maxie will also be at his Sydney book launch.
Yes.
So, fun and games.
This is it. That's the show. Day 4 tomorrow. Can't remember. It'll be raining. Maybe something will happen. We'll see. See you then.
Night.